Ora, cá estamos nós, na segunda parte. Segunda parte deste vídeo. Vamos continuar a ver teorias da conspiração, alguns vídeos diferentes também, portanto, não se esqueçam de fazer a subscrição e de fazer gosto. Só tenho que o fazer uma vez. Neste vídeo, e em todos os vídeos só o tenho que fazer uma vez. O subscrever é uma vez para sempre. Nos vídeos é um gosto por cada vídeo, porque assim ajuda no algoritmo e ajudam cada vez também a encontrar mais pessoas interessadas neste tipo de assunto. E podemos discutir mais, discutir pelo Discord também, portanto, juntem-se a esta comunidade que vai ser uma das maiores relativamente a teorias aqui no YouTube. Vamos embora então partir para o próximo vídeo, aliás, o mesmo vídeo que ficou a meio. Vamos então continuar, não é? Vamos. Não era...
Cup.
Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! The true story of the Tartars. Yeah. Wake up. Thank you. Okay. Ok. Tem 8 línguas diferentes e cada uma dá instruções como reconstruir. Existe a língua japonesa. Mas eles destruíram aquele monumento.
Try not to let stuff bother you as much as possible, but it is going to bother you because you're human, and I was human. I am human still.
I was human.
Privacy thing, and I thought that was a fascinating
It's
answer.
okay. You want to take off the hoodie?
No, I never take off the.
I know you don't. What's with that? There's a group of women in the audience that wish you would.
No.
Girls?
Whoa.
All right.
Sorry. Yeah, that's okay.
I should take off the hoodie.
Take off the hoodie.
Go ahead.
Want to? You want? Go ahead. Here. You get some. You all right? What?
Oh,
my
really?
God, the inside of the hoodie, everybody. Take a look. What is it? Making the...
Making the world more open and connected.
Oh my God, it's like a secret
Cool.
vault. Look at that, making the world open and connected, stream graph platform, and this weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati. This weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati. Oh my God, it's like a secret
Cool.
vault. This weird symbol in the middle that is probably for the Illuminati. Oh my God, it's like a secret.
Pentagram. Ah, ok. Este já tinha visto. O Saint Peter está com os olhos, parece um reptilian.
This is a part 2 to my brothers and sisters in the Catholic faith. Please wake up. What's up, guys? It's Calvin. Hit that plus number for more content like this and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Straight to it. This is the next pope. That's a satanic hand sign. Ancient art, satanic hand sign. I wouldn't recommend reading it, but these are satanic hand signs. And this is the name of the book. Famous people using these satanic hand signs over time. Here's a satanic person using that same hand sign. It's a very sad story. I'm not going to go into it. Here's a Baphomet using that hand sign. Here's a satanic high priest, Anton LaVey, using that satanic hand sign. The Beatles using satanic hand signs. Look at John Lennon. Ancient art of a false Jesus with these satanic hand signs. Stay with me. And here's an ex-pope with an upside inverted cross on his chair. And then look at the comparison to the satanic.
Isto são coisas, muito sinceramente, são coisas que eu nunca repararia. Nos vídeos, e até mesmo a ir, são coisas que não repararia, porque o pessoal já está tão focado neste tipo de coisa e neste detalhe que eu nunca reparava. No entanto, há muita teoria, muito pessoal a falar que a música, que a indústria da música está contaminada por rituais, poderes satânicos, e depois pronto, juntam tantas compilações do pessoal a fazer os símbolos, né? Satânico, Este símbolo para mim normalmente é tipo rock e o caraças, que era quando eu saía e ia para um concerto e ficava uau! E agora pronto, tem outro significado, ou se calhar sempre teve e eu sempre, nunca soube o que é que eu estava a fazer.
6-year-old Scottish computer engineer, Gary McKinnon. They are there to arrest him on behalf of the United States Justice Department for hacking into top secret computers at NASA and the Pentagon. McKinnon not only admits to the crime, but claims he uncovered evidence that the US government was working with extraterrestrial beings.
There were a lot of text files that had lists of places, installations, military bases, Air Force bases, Navy sites, NASA sites. So there was a lot to go through. But I did find a gold mine of information.
Será que esta pessoa ainda está viva?
He unearthed a secret
Eu vou duvidar um bocado.
program that
Fazer a
existed
pesquisa.
entirely in space.
I found the spreadsheet was actually titled in the column non-terrestrial officers. As well as
Non-terrestrial
officers' names, it
officers.
had ship names. None of these were ocean-going ships. It was astounding.
Well, the government got smart. They stopped doing all the inventions and all the technology themselves, because once they developed the technology themselves, they had to give you the FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act, where you can pull down the records and see exactly what they're doing. So now they subcontract out all the work to Lockheed Martin, Skunk Works, and all these places, right?
Ok.
Northrop Grumman. So you can't see what the hell's going on. You have no clue what's out there. I'm here to tell you the technology is 300 years ahead of whatever you could dream of.
Isso
300.
não duvido.
Not 40, not 50,
Não
not
duvido.
100, 300. Whatever you can think, whatever you can imagine in your mind, whatever you can conjure up and think based on whatever sci-fi movie you saw before, I'm here to tell you it already exists. It already exists.
Mas não vamos saber tão cedo. Não vamos saber. Até podia existir já energia. Até podia existir já, aliás, a velocidade da luz já terem descoberto. E, na minha opinião, já descobriram. Só que transmitir isso cá para fora. Não há vantagem nenhuma em dizer que estamos a avançar na tecnologia quando todos os governos querem controlar o povo, não é? É uma teoria. É uma teoria.
I went back on Google Earth viewing Antarctica at this lab building that has reptilian skulls on display. That's when I noticed a man with sunglasses and a beanie peeking through the crack of the door. Really creepy.
Ok, isto são pessoas que fazem o Google Earth. Isto é pessoal que faz mesmo para o Google Earth, que é para o pessoal ir lá ver. Mas
One point that I'll talk about without getting CIA's permission. Since World War II, we learned that there has been an alien hybridization of humans.
ok.
Exclusively since World War II?
World War II. That's when the CIA learned about it. World War II. That's what prompted me to look back at World War II and say, okay, where did this information come from?
But still, it should be a DNA record of that. We should be able to tell.
Absolutely. And that's what's not released. That's still...
Well, but I mean, this is being done by academics. It's, the government doesn't do the DNA research.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Well, sure, but I would. It's not private, right? There's no classification of our DNA. You can't classify looking into our DNA. You can classify our DNA? You think that they're holding secrets of our DNA from us? How could they do that?
Certeza.
Because the law allows CIA and the intelligence community to do operations like that because
Podem fazer o que querem.
read the law.
So you think that they're going into like the university biology programs and saying don't study this, you can't publish these documents?
No.
Wouldn't that mean they're also redacting information from organizations like 23andMe and Ancestry and those others?
Once you give your blood, once you give your saliva to 23andMe and these others, if you read the fine print, you gave away your DNA for the purposes of creating
scientific research.
As letras pequenas.
Is the CIA and other intelligence organizations working directly with these companies to limit what information they put back out to the populace?
I don't know. I don't know that. That's why I mentioned Cosmos ID, because there's a company involved in the human genome, involved in bioinformatics, involved in
DNA, and then you look at the company, and then you look at who are the consultants to that company. It's a who's who of IC officers. And the company was started by somebody from the National Science Foundation. And so if you go back to FOIA and you go back to National Science Foundation and you research who these people are, all of a sudden you go, oh my gosh,
they're the same.
These guys are really well connected. In fact, one of the officers was CEO of EG&G. EG&G was the parking lot where Eric W. Davis allegedly had his conversation with Admiral Wilson. He went to the EG&G facility in North Las Vegas. And the guy who was the CEO of that company, who is the operations maintenance contractor at Area 51, is part of the scientific consultation team for Cosmos ID.
CERN does, that big circle, it accelerates particles in that big circle around and around and around and around until they're traveling at just enormous velocity, and then they collide these particles together. And in that moment, it creates a moment
new
that
particle.
they think is kind of how the Big Bang started the whole universe. That's the whole purpose behind it. However, they also believe that there are parallel realities around us, other dimensions, and there could be other intelligence there. However, there's a reason God put them on the other side of that veil, and you might not want to open the door. Their own director of CERN has gave interviews to the British press in which he admits that's what they're trying to do.
Isto já são teorias de outras dimensões paralelas à nossa. Eu não acredito muito nisso, ok? Não acredito muito nisso, mas ouço sempre.
They want to open a door to another dimension. And he said, when we open this door, he said, something might come through it into our reality, or he said, we might send something through it into their reality. You can look that up. It's in the British press. Where the CERN was built, this is St. Genus Powili. That's the name of the township. But in ancient days,
however, in the mid-1990s, a man came forth with a stunning story about his experiences in an underground base built under the Archuleta Mesa, just north of Dulce. His name was Phil Schneider.
Phil Schneider, he started going public in the mid-1990s.
And
he started attending some UFO conferences and started to reveal his background as a civil engineer. He showed his documentation that he was the son of an Operation Paperclip scientist and that he was recruited into these covert programs.
Se não conhecem Paperclip, Operação, vão ver também. Muito curioso.
He followed his father's footsteps, building these underground bases that would be joint facilities for extraterrestrials and elite human units. So he's building these bases all over the place. He's part of the team that kind of like is looking at different areas that would be suitable for the construction of a base. And he described a number of incidents. One of the incidents happened in 1979, the famous Dulce battle, where he says that they sunk a shaft. They were basically doing some mining exploration there to see where they could build a facility in that arena, and they basically came into an area that was a very old cavern system where grey extraterrestrials had a base. And the story was that what happened was that there were elite military units that went down there, Delta Forces and other special forces, SEALs and so forth, went down there, and they basically encountered these tall grey extraterrestrials. And so there was a firefight down there, and approximately 60 military personnel and scientists were killed, and Schneider gets wounded, but he's alive and he gets extracted out of there. So that's the famous Dulce battle, which was basically where the US military went into an area where they weren't supposed to be.
His version of events is that there was an altercation there. He was involved in the altercation. He was hit with some sort of a plasma weapon which seared off a portion of his hand, and that he had managed to escape with samples, synthetic samples that were synthesized by the Greys that essentially led to the development of our stealth technology. He was displaying these at conferences as part of these preparedness expos. He had this whole connection to aliens, essentially, and for him the catalyst was his time at Dulce, and it was this 1979 engagement with the Greys, and that's pretty much the crux of his story. And as you know, he went on the lecture circuit and died as a result.
Phil Schneider was an interesting character who's now deceased. His father was a man named Oscar Schneider, who had a lot of responsibility during the Second World War. He was involved in early atomic bomb tests, worked on nuclear submarines, and according to Phil Schneider, his father also worked on the infamous Philadelphia experiment in 1943, which was allegedly a program to try and make a warship invisible to the enemy. But as far as Phil Schneider's concerned, he came forward many years ago now, talking about how he said he was an engineer and was working on a lot of programs to construct massive underground installations all across the United States.
A verdade é assim, e principalmente nos Estados Unidos é onde acontece muito mais. Tem havido cada vez mais pessoas, muito mais pessoas, a vir ao de cima relativamente a informações do que viram, de onde trabalharam, e está a vir mesmo muita gente relativamente ao governo que dizem ser do governo, nós não sabemos, atenção, nós não conseguimos confirmar isso, que trabalharam com eles, que viram coisas que mais ninguém viu, extraterrestres, e a verdade é que hoje em dia, até mesmo já em todo o mundo, pelo que eu tenho visto, estão cada vez mais a aparecer avistamentos de UFOs, né? De OVNIs, que são objetos voadores não identificados, não quer dizer exatamente que sejam aliens. No entanto, estão cada vez a aparecer mais, e será que estamos a caminhar para realmente descobrir alguma coisa? Muitos dizem que 2024 vai ser o ano do descobrimento, em que vamos acordar. Será verdade? Ou será que não? Será que somos todos malucos da cabeça? Se calhar somos. Se calhar não. Acreditem no que quiserem. Acordem para a realidade. Muito obrigado pela vossa presença aqui neste vídeo. Não se esqueçam de subscrever e fazer o gosto. E nós voltamos num próximo episódio de Acordar para a Realidade. Até amanhã.